Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. As we know that recently we have celebrated the 79th Independence Day of India on 15th of August. However, one group from the northeastern state of Assam has said that they will not celebrate, rather they would boycott the celebration of Independence Day. Not only the group is boycotting the celebration of Independence Day, rather they also have incited the people from the northeastern state to not participate in such kind of celebration as such. So let us try to understand this in more detail. Now first of all, geographically, if we try to understand, the region we are talking about is the state of Assam. As we look at the map of India, we can see this red region as you see here is representing the state of Assam, and state of Assam, as we can see, is something, the map look like this, where in the upper part of Assam somewhere we can say is the flow of river Brahmaputra. So Brahmaputra river basically divide Assam into two regions. To the north of Brahmaputra it is called as Assam, upper Assam, while to the south of Brahmaputra it is referred as the lower Assam as such. Now in this particular context we have seen and joint statement issued by several rebellion group, several insurgent group, as we can say, that is the group called as NSCN, that is National Socialist Council of Nagaland, largely having a demand of a separate Naga state. Second group that we have is GPRN, that is referring itself as the Government of the People's Republic of Nagaland. Again, it is an insurgent organization. And the third group that was largely active and still active to some extent in the state of Assam is the ULFA, which stands for United Liberation Front of Assam or Assam as such. I refer to the independent faction as such. Now, if you look at the statement released by this particular group, they have stated that they are going to boycott India's Independence Day celebration on the 15th of August 2025 in the northeastern region. Now, this is not for the first time they have boycotted this. This is a similar line they have taken up before in the earlier Independence Day also. The reason how they have justified why they have said that they are going to boycott Independence Day, because they believe that India has carried out war crimes in the region of northeastern state, and they do not accept the sovereignty of India, the control or administrative control of India on the northeastern state of Assam. Rather, their demand is to have a separate sovereign state that will be largely ruled by the original inhabitants of Assam or Assamese people as such. So, first of all, if you look at the context of this particular topic, we know that generally there are two groups involved here who has released the joint statement, One is the group that largely is NSCN, that represents the interest of Naga, and they also have similar demand like ULFA. As we know that ULFA has a major demand of creating a separate state for the Assamese people. Similarly, NSCN also has a similar demand to create a separate state for the people of Naga tribes or Naga-led group or Greater Nagaland state as they refer it as. So these groups have basically published this joint statement, and Independence Day celebration they have referred in this statement as so-called celebration, and they said that not only in the state of Assam and Nagaland, this entire boycott they will announce and they will ensure in the western states, that is the Assam eastern state of and the western regions of Southeast Asia such as Assam, Arunachal, Nagaland and Manipur. Now this is not new, as we have discussed before. This is annual boycott traditions they have always carried out, and they have also upheld it in this particular year as self, and the theme of this particular message was to expose India's war crime. Now why they are talking about this in this particular term? Because recently the drone attack was carried out along the Myanmar border where the ULFA group operates from, and that has led to killing of a lot of ULFA's leaders and commanders, and that is why they are talking about that it is the India who was behind such kind of attack. However, the government of India has categorically denied that any such kind of attack it has carried out against the ULFA members especially in the sovereign territory or sovereign nation of Myanmar as such. Now, if you look at this picture here, this picture is the picture of the leader who is currently leading the NSCN group as such. Now, what is the justification behind the boycott or not celebrating Independence Day? So, first of all, if you look, they have stated that though we talk about currently Assam is under the political control, administrative control of India, they believe that Assamese people have not been given their share as far as the development or the fruits of development are concerned, and indigenous population of Assam, and same thing is said by Naga group also, has been quite what they refer as has been differentiated, discriminated, and there is no significance for the indigenous population. Second point they talk about is that still after independence, after India achieved independence in 1947, they have exploited, and in Assam region and the northeastern region they believe there is a kind of colonial domination that is still persists today. Third, they have said that under the control of Government of India, the northeastern region has suffered from deceit, exploitation and humiliation. Now, this is not a new line that they have come up with. This is the region or raison d'etre, we can say, behind their existence. This was the ground on which ULFA came into existence to wage a fight, to wage a war against the state of India as such. So, same line is being repeated every year as such. And the land, they believe that the land of Assam, the land that belonged to Ahom, it still remained not free from occupation, and the Government of India is occupant here, and they have stated that why they want to boycott the Independence Day celebration, because they said that it is a painful reminder of operation as such. Now, this is the kind of propaganda that the insurgent groups in northeast India would see is a common line that is repeated by each one of them, and this propaganda by the boycott of Independence Day, they try to point these messages and try to drive these messages throughout the crowd, throughout the entire population of Assam, to ensure that they remain, their existence remain credible in the modern era as well. Now, if we try to understand about the protest, so first of all, they have asked for a total bandh in the northeastern regions, as we have discussed, in the several states of Assam, Arunachal, Nagaland and Manipur. And because earlier we have seen that such groups have been involved in violent activities around the times of Independence Day, and the grim reminder of this we can see from the year 2004, where we have seen Dhemaji Independence Day bomb trauma, where large number of school children, civilian casualty has been reported here for the first time. ULFA has targeted civilians, and not only civilians but also the school children and such. And because of such kind of incident, overall, security has remained intensified in this entire region of Assam, where there is a presence of ULFA, such as Dibrugarh, Jorhat, Tinsukia, etc. as such. Now, also security forces have taken cognizance of such bandh and protest, and they have ensured multi-layer checks, night patrols and also anti-sabotage operations against the what you can call as the OGWs, that is overground workers. We know that largely today ULFA Independent, that is headed by Paresh Barua, operates from along the China-Myanmar border. They are OGWs, that is overground workers, who are supporters of this group, also are present throughout the entire northeastern region, and that is what intelligence agencies largely target so that they do not carry out any kind of heinous activities and heinous attacks as such. So, this is what we have to understand as far as the protest and response is concerned. Now, to understand this all, we have to go back slightly in the history. And in history we will try to understand that why and how did ULFA came into existence. So, we know that if we talk about the entire state of Assam, it was or still is a resource rich region. For example, we talk about the first and the initial oil well in India, crude oil well you talk about, was dug in the Assam, and Assam is having a rich reserves of crude oil in the regions such as Sivsagar, in regions such as Digboi, Narkatia and all that. Similarly, if we talk about the Assam, it is also known for a large scale tea plantations that is grown in the hilly areas of Assam, and plus the Assam also is bestowed with a humongous forest resources which is used for timber industry as such. Now, the people of Assam, especially the people who then later formed ULFA, they claim that though Assam is a resource rich state, though it has been bestowed with huge or humongous resources by the nature, the people of Assam have not derived any kind of benefit to it. Rather, the exploitation of resources is being done by the outsider, people who are non-Assamese, and they are the one who are reaping the dividend from it. And it is this thing that they have contested against, and thus in the 1980s, in the 1970s, somewhere in the year 1979, we can understand, they carried out a meeting in the region called as Ranghar in the Sivsagar. Ranghar, why this place was chosen for as a meeting ground? Because this was the place from where in the ancient times a home kingdom was run, and that is why at the Ranghar in the Sivsagar region they carried out a meeting, and in this meeting several leaders decided that they will form a group that they referred as United Liberation Front of Assam or Ahom as such. Now, in this meeting, the leaders who formed the ULFA group, the three main leaders we can name here. First was Paresh Barua, who is still active. Then we have Arvinda Raj Hua, and then we have Anup Chetia as such. Now, if you try to understand that what was the main reason why ULFA was created, what was their end goal or objective, so they had clearly stated that their end goal is to establish a sovereign and a socialist state of Assam through an armed struggle. Now the point here you have to keep in mind is that since its inception, ULFA has stated that they are going to achieve their objective not by using the constitutional measures, not by using the peaceful measure, but the only way how they can achieve their objective is by armed struggle, and that is why since beginning ULFA itself can be categorized as nothing but an insurgent and militant group as such. So that was their main objective, sovereign and socialist Assam. That means simply we can say they wanted to secede from India, they wanted to create a separate country of themselves. And to ensure this, ULFA began to recruit a large number of people from around the Assam and nearby areas, and slowly and gradually the cadre strength of ULFA began to increase as such. Now also it is believed by the security forces and intelligence agencies that ULFA was not operating alone, rather it was getting tacit support, covert and overt support from several other groups. For example, it was supported by the Chinese government, still ULFA-I received support from the Chinese government. It was supported by the Inter-Services Intelligence, IAS Pakistan, in terms of the in terms of the weapon delivery, arms smuggling, and also by providing them training as such. And also later on, it has linked up with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda group as such. Now, if you try to understand about the current situation of ULFA, currently ULFA largely is divided into two factions. One faction that is called as Pro-Talk faction or PTF is run by Arvinda Rajkhova, and the other faction that is called as ULFA-ATF, Anti-Talk faction, or also called as ULFA Independent, is being run by Parvesh Barua. Now, as far as the ULFA Pro-Talk faction is concerned, they have participated in the peace talk. They have agreed that the way to achieve their objective or to come to certain sort of negotiation is by engaging in peace talks with the government of India. They have renounced violence, and that is why they have accepted a suspension of operation agreement, or in simple terms we can say a ceasefire agreement with the government of India and as well as the government of Assam. And in this regard, ULFA has signed a tripartite agreement renouncing violence and such, and they have on the other hand focused on political settlement for their demand and issues. On the other hand, ULFA Independent or Anti-Talk faction run by Paresh Barua, they have categorically stated that they will not engage in any kind of peace talk. They will try to achieve their objective only by using violence and such. Now, as far as the current situation is concerned, in the year 2023, ULFA Pro-Talk faction led by Arvind Rajkhova along with the government of Assam has signed a peace pact, and in this context large number of ULFA cadres have surrendered along with the arms, and this cadre also is being called as SULFA, that is the surrendered ULFA as such, and they have begun to take part and participate in the democratic process, and they have been involved in the democratic process and elections of Assam as such. Now, if you try to understand that as of now what can be considered to be the major demand of ULFA, so obviously the first demand that is being raised by ULFA-I, that has always remained same since their inception in 1979, and that is the independent sovereign state of Assam run by people of original inhabitants of Assam, that is Assamese people. They also demand self-determination and restoration of sovereignty. When we talk about restoration of sovereignty, we have to go slightly back in the history. Actually, in the year 1826, a treaty of Yandabo was signed by the British government, between the British government and the Burmese kingdom that time. And under this treaty, the control over the Assam region was transferred by Burmese kingdom to the British government as such. And so most of the ULFA leaders believe that their status should be restored to the pre-Yandabo treaty status. That means they want to enjoy an independent status where the entire kingdom was run by the Assamese people themselves. They have rejected the constitutional framework of India, and the ULFA-I faction, you try to understand, they have continued their armed resistance, and this armed resistance they want to justify it is on the basis of the self-defense strategy as such. So this is the current demand of ULFA. Now, if we try to understand about the boycott of Independence Day, that is what we are talking about. What is the symbolism and messaging that ULFA-I or ULFA Anti-Talk faction led by Paresh Barua tries to present? So first of all, they are trying to refuse in the participation of Independence Day, because participation of Independence Day is nothing but accepting the legitimacy of the state of India, and they clearly reject the legitimacy of government of India. That is why they have refused in participation. Similarly, they also encourage putting black flags and Bandh everywhere in the northeastern region, and this will ensure that the protest is not only ideological but also is visible to media, to the people as such, and so their point can be further intensified and further be talked about. Media will take up what is their concern, what is their demand and all that, and they will be able to ensure their legitimacy as such. Third, by rejecting the identity narrative imposed by Indian state, that also they are trying to do by protesting and the what you can call as ensuring Bandh as such. So, identity narrative means when you talk about India, every person who is living in India is basically belonging and basically we can say is legitimating the Indian identity as such. So, as we have discussed, one of the demand of ULFA is to have a separate country of themselves, and that is why they do not want to believe and accept as being Indian as such, and thus by doing so they will be able to also assert regional autonomy, and this is the message they are trying to give to the central governments and authority, that the sovereignty, as far as the concept of sovereignty is concerned, it still remains contested in the state of Assam and will remain so unless and until ULFA-I is leading the fight. So, this is the reason behind the what you can call as rejection of Independence Day celebration. That is all about this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share the flash friends, subscribe to the channel for more such content. Thank you very much.